Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. I'm a labor and delivery nurse by day, and this is Mabel. And I read a lot of books. It's time to do my July recap. And I read only 12 books in July because I feel like my attention span is gone. So I don't know what happened to it, hoping to get it back. The month of August, I'm doing a reading challenge to try to motivate me to read more, but yeah, there was just nothing I wanted to do less than read. I mean, I still read quite a few books, but I had to really force myself to read. So the first book that I read this month I did the audiobook of the book club for troublesome women. So this is set in like I want to say 60s. And so it's a bunch of women that get together and read The Feminine Mystique. They're like in this neighborhood. I gave it a 4.0. It was good. It was entertaining. The audiobook was good. It was a little too rose-colored glasses for me. You know, like everybody's story works out, and like there's no, they beat the patriarchy in the 60s and all that fun stuff, which is good for a book. Maybe not realistic. It dragged a little bit too. So that's why I took off a star, but it was entertaining. So yeah, they read The Feminine Mystique. So like one woman okay, this is also like a month and a half ago. One woman is in a marriage that was like for convenience. One is like her husband doesn't want her to work, but they also need money, so she starts working, and that's like a huge thing. Another woman is working, and her husband is supportive, but she's also pregnant with like her 7th child. Yeah, so this all just like women wanting to be independent, and then they're reading The Feminine Mystique. And then I read the book Beard by Kelly Foster Lundquist. So this was one that I found in like indie bookstore day. I found this downtown Grand Rapids. So it's a memoir of marriage. So our main character like grew up in the church, married her high school boyfriend, and surprise, he was gay. So I thought that would be a really interesting story, and parts of it were, she gets very deeply into like some of the research she was doing for her like master's, and I think she got a PhD as well. Very ironically in like gender studies, and didn't realize her husband was gay. Like incredibly. And then even when she finds out that he's like hooking up with guys, she's like, sometimes you just hook up with guys. So a little bit of it is like, wow, purity culture really takes away some common sense. Yeah, so for being as short as it is, it felt like it was 200 pages longer than it is. So dragged quite a bit. I gave it a 3. I just really feel like this could have been a great story. It could have been a great, like, the way she reflected on it could have had more meaning. Just wasn't what I wanted it to be. Apparently I was in memoir mode because then I listened to You with the Sad Eyes, which is Christina Applegate's memoir. So Christina Applegate was on Married with Children, which I think I was a little too young for, and my parents didn't live like super, like they didn't let us watch The Simpsons, so I feel like Married with Children was similar, where it was like the way that people talk to their parents they did not like. So I don't think I've ever watched a full episode of it, but like I know like who is in it and all that. And then she was also in, why can't I think of anything else she's in? I can only think of Dead to Me, which was the last thing. And then of course, I think she was in like Bad Moms. Like she's in a lot of things. Like she actually worked for a really long time. I really thought I would like this memoir, but she has a really weird relationship, like very unhealthy relationship with her fame. So she was diagnosed with MS, I think like 5 years ago. And so now she's like it's getting more and more debilitating. She's very painful and can no longer act, which is what stopped the show Dead to Me. So that was really interesting because that was a great show. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm just like, I feel like the other show she was in that she loved so much was like Samantha something. I don't know, I can't think of it now. So she was diagnosed with MS, and so in like the second season of Dead to Me, she's like in a wheelchair between takes because she's like so painful, but insisted on like completing the season. So it felt like that show was rushed, and now it makes sense because we were losing a main character. So her stuff about her shows was really interesting, but she was so weird about being famous that like it was kind of an annoying memoir because she was like, ew, fame. Like, and it was like, oh, I feel like you could have used this in a better way. Like, I'm sad for her. I'm sad for the relationship that she had with fame and being famous. And it just feels like it like ruined a lot of things for her. So I gave that one a 3-star as well, which like not rating like her life experience, obviously, but just like the way that the story was told. And then I read a book that took me so long to read. So Into the Blue by Emma Brody. I feel like some of it was that I didn't have like the attention span to just sit and read like big chunks of it. It was not hard to read. This was not a hard read. This was a great read. I also think I didn't want it to end. And that's kind of how it's been for me lately with books that I'm enjoying. I'm having a really hard time finishing them because I'm kind of like dreading starting another book and not enjoying it. So it's like this very strange, I'm having a hard time with reading right now. I'm all in my head about it. So Into the Blue, this is an incredibly strange book to explain, and I don't want to give away a ton of spoilers. So it is a love story. There's like an SNL backdrop to it. There's a sci-fi backdrop to it. Like sci-fi movies, but also like there's a tiny bit of science fiction in it as well. The book is absolutely gorgeous. So our main characters met as like teenagers, and the male main character's aunt was on a famous like science fiction show that the other main character, the female main character, is obsessed with. So they start like running lines together under the aunt's tutelage and like are falling in love, but then suddenly the male character just leaves and is like out of her life. And so then like 10 years later, they're on a show together and they haven't dealt with any of their stuff. And so like the sexual tension is always like very high. They have never dealt with any of their feelings, and they keep being like put into situations together. So the female main character is like writing for SNL when she's not like on these TV shows. There is a reason the male main character is trying to avoid romantic entanglements, but the female main character just doesn't know why. I feel like I should know their names. Noah and AJ. So Noah is the boy. So Noah is like very much reeling AJ in and then like throwing her out in the cold again. So like AJ is like got all this whiplash emotionally, and then she finds out what he's hiding from her, and she's like, this is so stupid, let's just be together. And that's kind of the book. So will they or won't they for like 10 years plus, and it was really well written and I really enjoyed it. It got a little draggy, a little miscommunication, so I did take off 0.25 stars for that. So 4.75. So not perfect, but really freaking good. Like definitely the best book that I had read in July so far. So that was good. I needed that. Then I had to read my Hermione fanfic, and I've been hearing a lot about Paging Dr. Granger, which was near perfection. So like not a manacled, because that is perfection, not Secrets and Masks, but like so close, but totally different vibes. Like those are dark, and we love that. Paging Dr. Granger is Hermione is okay. So the war was won by Harry. So like that is normal canon. I think Draco like does some time and then just like goes to America. Well, Hermione marries Ron and they aren't dealing with any of their emotions, and Ron is cheating on Hermione. So she finds him. She doesn't get a promotion that she needs, that she wanted, because of all sorts of drama. She walks in on Ron and Lavender having the was it? I think it's Lavender. So it's someone from the main series. And like she's pissed, sets her house on fire. I feel like they deserved it. And then she like flees to America. She takes a fellowship because she's a doctor. Did I mention that? Hermione's a doctor. She doesn't get her promotion, so she flees to America where she's working under a Dr. Black of neurosurgery. So it's like neurosurgery and magic. Super interesting. Love it so much. Well, guess who's a really good legilimens who ran away to America and his mom's last name was Black? It's Draco. Oh my gosh. So enemies, and like Draco is like hazing her because he doesn't want her there and he wants to like protect his life, and she's just like, I don't care that you're here, I just need to not go back to England. And guess what? There's sexual tension, and then it's relieved, and then other stuff happens, and it's very good. So I took off the 0.25 because we did get a little draggy. There's a little drag at one point. But it was so good. I enjoyed it so much. And I read it so fast because I just could not get enough of these characters. This is why we read fanfic, because we don't need a backstory. We jump right into it. And then it's like, ooh, how are they going to react when they find out about each other? Oh, so good. The next book that I listened to was Heartless, which is in, what is this series? Okay, well, I'm very sorry that I can't think of who this writer is. So Heartless is the second in like a cowboy romance series, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember what the author's name is. She's really popular though. So I think the first one was like Powerless or Fearless or whatever. So Heartless is the second one. The first one I thought was fine. It was fine. I actually thought Heartless was better. So cowboy romance, our main character, there are two different cowboy series that feel like they have the exact same storylines. And I get it. There's only so many cowboy storylines to have, I guess. But yeah, I want to think of what this author's name is, but it's like, she also has like Wild Eyes, Wild Love, Wild, that's another series. If you think of it, let me know. So I gave that one 3.75 stars. And so this is, I think, the oldest brother in the group of the cowboys. And, so in the first book, it's like a guy who is like doing the rodeo, and the girl is like supposed to be his like manager. They fall in love, and so then they're like, I think her name is Summer. So then they're like on the farm, and the second brother needs childcare for his child. And so the sister-in-law is like, hey, here's my friend. She's looking for a job, and she's a bartender, so she is good at wrangling drunk men. So that's like kids, which do you see the logic there? I do. And so guess what? They fall in love. Yep. So it was good. I actually did like it. And yeah. Cowboy romance. Emily Griffin? No. Is it Emily? Someday I'll think of her name. I don't know. And then I was so excited for Romance Revival by Christina Lauren, because it has been a long time. It's been a long time since we had a new Christina Lauren. And I don't know about this one. I feel like it was fine. It was fine. The book is beautiful. yellow. I do love that. Like, such fun color. So this was a weird one, okay? It was weird. But like not just quirky, which is what like Catherine Center takes like a really quirky story and like makes it work. Christina Lauren, I love their banter so much. But I feel like the banter was missing a little bit in here. So, our premise. Emery is our main character. She is like an undercover scientist. So she's working on she's a doctor. She's working on a super secret like serum that resurrects people from the dead. Okay, so there's drama with that. Her husband doesn't even know what she does. And her husband are just like, she's still obsessed with him, but like all she does is work on her underground medicine. His name is Luca, and he's like super duper hot, okay? Like you wouldn't even understand. But we don't get much of like Luca because he gets killed in the first few minutes. Spoiler. And then Emery saves his life, brings him back from the dead, which like fun premise, I guess. I don't know. Because it was like, are we trying to make this like a weird, like is it sci-fi? Is it heisty? Is it not? It's like there were a lot of things. There were so many things happening. The best character is the nosy neighbor. This felt like there were a lot of ideas and not a lot of editing. Sorry, Mabel's moving the camera with her butt. Okay. Now that she's comfy. Like I didn't hate it. I did enjoy. I'm so happy that they wrote another book. I want them to keep writing because honestly, like they deserve to have a book that I just don't like. That's fine. And by don't like, I mean I gave it a 3.75. So like it was fine. I'm not gonna tell you not to read it, but I don't want you to expect Paradise Problem, Honeymooners, Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, Beautiful Bastard. This is a little more like Wild Things. Is that what that one's called? Something Wilder. I don't know. Just don't know what to think of this one. Beautiful cover. Don't know that had anything to do with anything either. The cover, but it's beautiful. So like, okay. So I just had a few that were like fine. And then I listened to Emma M. Lyon Volume 5. And that, it really was perfection. It really was. Like, I feel like I've really enjoyed Emma M. Lyon, the first 4 volumes. But it feels like this one got a little bit more like serious. The stakes felt a little bit higher. Feels like we know Emma a little bit more. And I'm just really excited to see like where she goes. So I've been trying to like read a few books in between these. I could just like binge them all, but first of all, Hoopla only lets you do 5 audiobooks a month. And I also don't want it to be over and then have to wait like years because I think she said there's gonna be like 16 volumes or something ridiculous. So like I don't know if it was like 6 volumes or a year. It was gonna be something like quite a bit, which I'm happy for, but I like, and she's cranking them out, but I don't want to catch up. So, Emma M. Lyon is living like, I believe 1800s, and she's precocious and very fun, and like just people love her unless you like a lot of rules, then you don't like her. Her parents have died. They've left her a house, and her cousin has been living there and has squandered all of their money. So she's like trying to stay afloat. They're renting out part of their house to someone, a very handsome, brooding artist. There's also a duke in the picture. There's a pastor in the picture, which the pastor is intriguing to me. Because there seems to be something like almost magical about him. Like he's always exactly where he needs to be, which could just be like God leading him around. But it's a really fun, like almost magical, like twist to the story. There's also this like ghost called the Roman that she's desperate to interact with. Her cousin that she lives with is like her enemy, and his like footman slash butler slash valet is like one of the worst servants ever. And then they have this maid that does absolutely everything for them, and it's just like a really charming cast of characters. And at some point, Emma's gonna fall in love with one of these boys, and I'm very interested to see who it is. There's also like two other guys. So there's the pastor, the duke, the artist. There's like a scallywag that she's like in the business of owing favors to, and like so there's favors crossing between them. And then there's someone that she like grew up with, and she was like, I hate him forever. Well, but now he's hot. So it's just a good time. It's a really good time. And like volume 5 was like Christmas time, like holidays, which it wasn't that weird listening to it in the summer, but it was like, oh, Christmas. It just made me a little excited for it. Then my next book that I read was another audio, because I was reading a chunker of a book. So Cleopatra is an audiobook that I've wanted to read for a minute, and I tried to prioritize it this month. I actually had to restart it because I wasn't paying attention. I believe Lady Danbury reads it, so that was fun, because I think she might be Egyptian, so it's very interesting. The story was told well, but I don't feel like there was like anything fresh or new. I feel like it's the story that I knew it to be. So like it was well told. I gave that one 4 stars. I did, after listening to this, I had to go and watch the miniseries that I have been wondering what, like, I watched this miniseries as a child and it imprinted on me. It was a 2-part, I think it was on like NBC or something. This was like, I think 2 Sundays in a row maybe. And I just remember it being like really racy and like really sexual. And I was like, maybe this was my sexual awakening. I don't know. But like I remembered, and like Egypt was just such a big part of my life at this point, you know, as it is for like middle schoolers. So I knew Billy Zane was in it. So now as an adult and with IMDb, I Googled it and then was like, where can I watch it? It's on freaking Amazon Prime. So I sat down and watched. It's just 2 episodes, like 2 like hour-and-a-half episodes. I remember so much of it. And I think the thing that was so racy, I mean, it is pretty sexual in nature because she's got like 2 different relationships, like quite a bit for network TV, honestly. But like the 90s TV where it's like just a lot of like shoulders are shown and stuff, which, oh, what a simpler time. And the lighting was better, you know, like Game of Thrones. There's a lot happening that you didn't want to see, but it's also really dark, so it's hard to see what's happening. So yeah, I think it was just called Cleopatra, and it was a 2-part series, and it was very good. It held up. Oh, I think the thing that made it the most racy is that she like never wears a bra, so there's just like nipples. But gorgeous woman. I don't know that she's the best actress, but gorgeous woman. So yeah, it was really, really fun to watch that. And finally scratch the itch of this thing that I've been like, oh, if only I could find that. Well, I did. I found it. Cleopatra never gets old, man. I love any book that has like a little Cleopatra, which I think is why I really liked the like what the river knows, where the library hides, that duology. Loved those. So my chunky book I was reading was The Ballad of Falling Dragons. It's so good. By Sarah A. Parker. So this is part 2. I think there's just one more. I'm not sure. This is the second installment. It doesn't say how many there are. The book is gorgeous. So gorgeous. So you have to figure out like who is this in their little prison cell. Okay. So in this world, when dragons die, they fly up into the sky and become moons. So When the Moon Falls is our first book, and just like an epic story. There's like multiple points of view, and you don't know, like the one character, you don't know who it is and how it relates. And then when it all comes together, it's just like cliffhanger, cliffhanger, cliffhanger. So much left up in the air. Well, it's been like a year or two since that book came out. And so I had to watch like a YouTube recap to even know, like vibes immaculate. I knew it was a 5-star. I knew I loved it. Could not have named a character or a plot line to save my life. And so thank you to the YouTubers that put out these videos that are just like recaps. So if you're in the middle of a fantasy series and a new one comes out and you don't feel like reading 500 pages to recap, just go on the little YouTube, because all it takes sometimes is like a few of the plot lines, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. So I also did this with Shield of Sparrows, because again, like I think I read the first 2 books around the same time, and then I read the second 2 books around the same time. And so it's hard to not get your fantasy worlds crisscrossed, especially when they have dragons and strong fighting women and a lot of other creatures and love and romantic triangles and secret third points of view that you don't know who it is, and it's probably someone's mom. Oh, it's exciting. So we pick up where we left off, and there's a new prophecy in the beginning of this that's like, the moons are gonna fall, so many of them are gonna fall. So now we're like in like a race against time, because the moons fall. I mean, those are like planets falling into the world. So we're trying to figure all these things out. There's the Scavenger King that I think we heard of in the first book, but he's like more of a main character in here. There's a lot of shit that goes down in this book. So I think it's Khan. Yeah, Khan is the king. Oh gosh, I don't know. There's like a bunch of different lands. Khan and Rave like find each other in the first book. She's an assassin. So she's like fighting against some assassin things. She's got lots of memories that she's trying to like deal with, and like honestly, she's trying to avoid most of them. Rave, or Khan, is trying to like keep his crown, and also like try to find like he's got like a bunch of rogue siblings that are all trying to like take his crown. There's so much happening, and I don't want to give away too much. There's also the other's point of view. The other is this like entity that takes over Rave's body sometimes. She doesn't know what it is or who it is. She's got like memory lapses. So much. I'm sorry for what that was. But this is a good book. I gave it 4.25 stars. I feel like that's appropriate for a middle book. A middle book in a series is like, number 1, hit it out of the park. Number 2 is like, we're trying to figure out what's going on, but like, we're not getting answers. We're getting a lot more questions, right? And so we're getting some answers, but then it's like, here's an answer and here's 45 questions. And so like, that's what a middle book needs to be. But that brings my reading down a little bit, because I'm like, where are we going? Where are we going? I, for some reason, thought this was a 2 out of 2. And so then obviously it does not wrap up. It doesn't wrap everything up. And so once I found out that it wasn't a 2 out of 2, that it was like a 2 out of 3, then I felt a lot better about the story. So I would say that this is more of like an epic fantasy, but the boys are going to say that this is romantasy because there is romance. And there's some sexual stuff in here. But I would argue that it's not an epic fantasy because something actually happens and it's entertaining. And the boys I don't think know how to do that. Boys love to just like spit facts and world out there and not like tie things together in a way that is interesting. So, like, Game of Thrones is fine. These books are better. They're faster moving. I feel like girls have to write better in order to compete, and they still are called romantasy instead of fantasy. And honestly, Brandon Sanderson, I don't know what the heck he's doing with that Stormlight archive. He keeps like setting things up epically, and then it's like, that fell flat. So I would choose the romantasy over the epic fantasy. I feel like they have to say it's epic because they have to like apologize for the fact that they're never going to finish the series. Robert Jordan, George R.R. Martin, or they have to call it epic because it's like, well, you wouldn't even understand. Yeah, you should write a better story. Then I would understand. Like, say what you will about Rebecca Yarros. Like, those books are dragging a little bit, but I know what's going on. And I trust we're going to get somewhere. Total different thing. I listened to the book Good Morning Monster. I did not write down who it's by, but there's on that cover, there's an egg. And so it's written by a therapist. I think it's 4 stories or like 4 people that she counseled. Like some of her more extreme cases, but she chose like hopeful ones. So she said there's plenty she could have chosen from, but she chose ones with good outcomes because she thinks that's what we need to see. I'm like, thank you. I do not need to hear about horrible things that are done to people and how they didn't overcome it. I feel like that's all everyday life. These stories are freaking amazing. So one is an Indigenous man. She's Canadian. So there's an Indigenous man. There's a woman who was just horrifically abused by her dad, who ends up with like DID. There's another woman who, oh gosh, they're just, the 4 case studies are so interesting. The one kid was just like neglected his whole childhood. So really interesting to see like how these manifest in each of them, how like their coping strategies, and then how it like isn't working for them as well. Like, and the therapist, like there are times that she just like makes mistakes too, and she's very forthright about it, and it's very interesting. So that one was a 5-star. And I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook was amazing. So this is, all the trigger warnings. These people had horrific things happen to them. And like, if you're not in a place to listen to that, then don't. That's fine. But it is amazing what a human can go through, their coping mechanisms, and then like what therapy can do to help people live a better life. Mabel is snoring right here, so if you hear weird noises. The last book that I read in July was Beth is Dead. We're actually having our book club for this tonight, and it is, August 11 today. So Beth is Dead is a retelling of Little Women. This was the quickest read ever because it's like a thriller mystery. So our main characters are the March sisters. They are the March sisters. Same characters, same personalities. And their father writes a book called Little Women. It's about them, but super controversial. In the book, he kills Beth. So she dies in a car accident, and then he gets canceled because people are like, this is horrific. Like, you killed your child in a car accident in your book, and like Beth is still alive. So the girls are all dealing with the fact that their dad did not tell them that he was writing a story about them, and just like released like pretty intimate information about them and their childhood, and like a very well written book, but very controversial, which I feel like is similar to like the yesteryear buzz that's happening, right? Where it's like people are really upset about this book, but like generating all sorts of sales, all sorts of fame. So Jo wants to also be an author, so she is like kind of writing a response. Their dad ends up just like leaving. Like he's like, sorry guys, like this is getting wild. I'm gonna go like hide out. The mom's pissed. So like that's how they get the dad like out of the story, because in Little Women he's like fighting in the Civil War. So yeah, Civil War. Then Beth is found dead, murdered, it appears. Well, she is dead from a head injury. And then there's lots of suspicions, lots of, like, who could it have been? So Joe's trying to figure it out. They're pointing fingers left and right. They're pointing fingers at each other. And it's like the main story is still happening, but like everybody suspects in murder investigation. This is a fun one. It moved really quickly. I gave it a 4.75. So if you're looking for just a quick story that this is a super fun retelling because you know what's going to happen, but it changes the tone completely because Beth dying from scarlet fever is very different than Beth being murdered, allegedly. And we have multiple points of view and we jump timelines a lot, so it moves really quickly. Very good way to end July. So those are my reads. I had some really good ones. Honestly, the not wanting to read is not about the books I'm reading. I'm still reading great books. I just think that social media F's with your attention span. So that's what I think. That's what's happening. Yeah. And for August, I'm doing a fun, read this book and then read this book, your next read. So I'm a few books into that, and that's a fun time. So I will see you in September for my August reads.